All right.
Let's do it. Thanks, Tinker, for having our interview. And the first question is, we all see this Nike Adapt BB, and what does this mean for Nike as a totally brand new basketball shoe?
Yeah, that's a great question because we always are working on new products, but a lot of times the new products are just incremental improvements, and this one is a very big leap. It's a very big step, and we think it's going to change the way all shoes are going to be made in the future. So that's exciting, and we also think it's going to help basketball players and then other athletes and non-athletes have healthier feet and more comfortable, experiences, doing whatever they do.
Yeah, and let's bring back to the way back of this project. Like, how do you come up with this idea? This inventing this lacing system?
Yeah, well, the original idea was just me trying to think of 30 years into the future, because for the movie, and I wanted to think up something new and different that maybe could someday come true. So I didn't want it to be too crazy, and so thinking about a shoe coming to life and lacing around your foot seemed like a future idea, but also maybe also possible someday. So that's how it got started for the movie, and then of course we turned it into a Nike sports performance shoe.
So when do you realize that this idea is feasible?
Oh yeah. Well, when we did that movie shoe a few years later, and that was a big. And by the way, that's a big scene in that movie, and a lot of people remember that scene.
Yeah, it's been playing again and again.
Yeah, that movie keeps coming up, and that scene is memorable. Anyway, so but several years later, I should say, there were a lot of sneaker collectors in the U.S. in particular that all were hoping that Nike would just make the Back to the Future shoes so they could buy it, so everybody could buy it.
Yeah.
And so that was. I guess you could say it got my attention, but it wasn't a good enough reason because it's very expensive to do.
Yeah.
So then I thought about a better reason for working on a project like that would be if there was a way to raise money for the Michael J. Fox Foundation to help out people with Parkinson's disease. So since we knew there were a lot of people who wanted the shoe, we didn't just want to make it for that reason, but if we could make the shoe and then donate money to Parkinson's, then that was a good enough reason. So that's how it all got started.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the biggest difference between designing this high innovative shoe and the traditional basketball shoes?
Oh yeah, that's a great question because you have to sort of rethink your beginning. In the beginning. So how you start a design is kind of in a different place. So the idea of having a motor and a power source and wiring and then other mechanical parts really had to be thought through first, and then integrated into the design. The design had to be integrated into that technology. Normally, we sort of start with what we want a shoe to look like, as well as, and sort of, there is this performance criteria also, but the order is a little bit different. So, we kind of draw cool pictures of shoes, and then we figure out how to make it work. And I think it's just the opposite for these adaptive shoes. It's really designed around that technology.
Yeah, I totally got you. And have you ever how do you consider to describe this device, or is it an electronic device?
Electronic device?
Are you going to introduce it with electronic device?
no one's asked that question really. But I will tell you that we have had to go through a lot of different testing through the electronics industry, and when you use batteries and motors and things like that, it has to go through some more stringent testing so people don't get electrocuted and that the wiring doesn't break. So that actually was something we had never thought of before, and we realized that we actually had to have go through some stringent testing and standards before we could even sell such a shoe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And like you talk about, have you ever talked about this project with Michael Jordan?
Yes.
What's his feedback?
Well, I think for most people, and including almost everybody here at Nike, at first,
They can't believe it?
no, you know what, most people just said it was too much of a gimmick.
Yeah.
And I understand that, because it's like, oh yeah, it's like for a movie, blah, blah, you know, it's not real.
Yeah.
And when we, and I think Michael probably thought that too. But the reality is, I think most people thought that, so he was not alone. And I think it only became like a more valuable idea when we actually could put it on people and they could try it out. And then they start to think more about, well, oh, this is comfortable, and this is easier, and this maybe has a future.
It's beyond their imagination.
Beyond their imagination.
And if you could put this system into any like Nike shoes, what would be your first choice? Like AJ11?
That's a good one. I like that idea. I like that idea. You should get credit for that idea.
Thank you. Also,
Jordan 11s.
So from Hyper Adapt to the Nike Adapt BB. So what's the next move for this?
Well, you know, of course, we can't tell everybody, you know, everything that we're doing for the future, but I think it's really easy to say that we are working on, you know, other applications for other sports, and we're, you know, again, there's a long process of testing, and you know, so we can't really talk about it too specifically, but it's a great idea. It should probably be just in everything. You know?
And I know you are like an expert in colorways, but we only saw the only colorway here. So if you can choose any color to put on this shoe, what would be your first choice?
Oh, for another color, for a different color?
Yeah. Like your color that can represent this shoe, like Nike Adapt 8BB.
I would probably, you know, first of all, I would go sit down with maybe an athlete that we think would be a really good representative for this shoe, and instead of just being my color, it might be like, oh, collectively we would come up with a color. And I think a lot of people probably feel like it would be nice to have a very bright color too, not just a black and white, you know, kind of colorway. So, you know, how about bright pink?
Bright pink?
Very bright pink.
I like it like this.
I love your hoodie. That's
you.
a nice pink hoodie.
And any other like signature basketball shoe line will use this technology in the future, maybe?
Well, I'm not gonna. Again, I don't want to jump the gun and put some misinformation out there, but it does make sense that this technology is working so well that it will find its way into other basketball products and other products in the future. But we just don't know when. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
any like LeBron or Curry, have they ever required this system? Or
I don't know, but you have to sort of, if you look at the athletes that have been wear testing, and you look at how their expressions on their face and everybody's excited, I would imagine that all of those guys would want this technology.
Yeah, I can imagine that too.
Yeah.
And I think that's all for our interview. And
Okay.
thank you for taking
Yeah,
this.
sure, of course.
And maybe